Hello everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. In this video, I'm going to go through my charts, which I have minimalized even more. And a big learning curve with reducing the amount of charts that we have to use is the understanding that when we get into the roots, the origin, the core of what's causing health problems, manifestation problems, life problems, is only going to be a few things. When we look at it and perceive everything at the root and the origin of everything, it's only when we feel like everything's so complicated and there's so many factors involved, is usually from a human perspective, because generally as a human perspective we do overcomplicate things, and hence our answers, our greater insights to a majority of things is always going to be in simplification, simplifying things. Now, what I teach here at Truly Holistic, whether that's within the session work, within the healing systems that are self-empowering to the individual that purchases those, as well as the energy tools, is to get that client or get that person into their heart. And the heart knows simplicity. Okay, it's not about complexity. The brain, which is the physical projection of the mind, is all about complexity, which generally, when we all went to human school to become the human, we were taught to become thinkers. And thinkers is the extension of the will of the mind, and that is essentially to overcomplicate stuff. So, and we've done that for long enough, and it's not getting us where we want to go to gain the greater insights, right? The greater understanding and knowing of what things represent, what they truly represent. Because out there at the moment, there's infinite amounts, sources of information, and it's still not doing the job. Why? Because we don't need more information. We need greater insight into what it all represents. And the mind's not going to provide that. The heart, the pathway, quantum pathway through the heart to you as a soul, as a consciousness, is going to provide that. So everything at Truly Holistic is all about the heart. The key is the heart. So everything that we facilitate is going to be using that heart field pathway, including the main chart system I use with my clients every day. And I've just recently updated, because there was a number of charts that were in the system that we weren't really utilizing very often. And we just needed to get out of weed it out, so to speak, right? So now we're only down to 12 charts. 12 charts. Now you'll see a couple of charts behind me here. This is the broadcasting system and the intuitively alignment system, which when my consciousness requests that, we bring that into the session to work. Use that for the greatest good for the client, whether that's spinal problems, posture correction, or using the broadcast system to achieve some sustenance, whether that's through a mineral, whether that's through a supplement, whether that's through a crystal, or whether that's through an ascension, or whatever that client needs. We can do that using that system. Now, a great expression came through from my consciousness about this before we get into looking at what the chart system looks like now. And that was, if I can find it in front of me, I've got the notes here. And what I had to say was, essentially, what do you want, right? And what it said was, do you want the foliage trimmed, right? The foliage and the little branches trimmed, which would be a very overcomplicated system where we work on all the superficial things, not the stuff at the root level. And when we're bringing in all those factors, the superficial factors, that are really, just a fractal of these original root issues, then, yeah, you're going to have a system where we're working on 300, 400, 500, 600 more things, right? But we're just going to be trimming the bush. That foliage is going to regrow back, right? It's going to remanifest back. And this has been my experience. This is why Truly Holistic has evolved this way, where we want to work. We don't want to work on superficial things. We want to work on the origin and the root of the things. Okay, and this is what I'm very proud about, what Truly Holistic provides, and a lot of modalities out there don't. because they still work on that superficial level. They work on duality things. The root origin of things is to rise above that. To resolve it is to rise above duality and go into neutrality. All these principles that we place within the videos and also we use in the clearing work when you have a client within a session. So do you want the foliage trimmed, aka the clearings, the superficial clearings? Or do you want the roots of that plant, that tree, completely pulled out, okay, out of the ground? Okay, so working on that level, the origins, the roots. But also not just pulling the roots out, but also you being given the greater insights, the wisdom, the knowledge to know, now that you've ripped the roots of that tree out, not to just go back and plant the seeds of that tree to form again. Right? And I felt that was really interesting because you're planting the seeds for the same problem to come back. And what we're talking about there is the way that you exist, the way that you live. Because you're not just the observant and participant of reality. Things are not happening outside of you. You are making those things happen. The way, the decisions, the choices, the way that you live. This is why we give the greater insights, the knowledge, the wisdom to live a different way so you can forge a different path that no longer reflects the past experience. Because if you carry your past experience, what's the future going to look like? The same as the past. So if that health problem exists in your past experience, you're carrying it with you into the future. No wonder it's like a monkey you can't get off your back. Okay? So we provide all these principles. That's why we provide reality coaching as well as ascendance healing. Okay? And we do all this information on social media platforms to provide the wisdom, the insights. Okay? This is why we do the healing systems, to self-empower you, to become the healer yourself. This is why we make the energy tools for you, right? To connect into your authenticity, your power as a creative force. But anyway, let's get into the system. Again, this is a reflection of what I'm talking about right now. So let's dive down into the system. So first of all, so let's bring that down like so. So first of all, we've got, this is the conversation chart, so the alphabet chart. And this is the chart I use 99.9% of the time. My dowsing has become so quick and effective and effortless that we can get sentences of conversation. And a lot of my clients will often say, hey, it's like you're having a conversation with your own soul, with your own consciousness, and it is. Okay, and even though that conversation may be perceived as, hey, I'm talking to someone else, that soul, that consciousness is me. Okay, so I'm just delving and diving into more of me and providing a representation of more of me. And that's what we're trying to provide for you, which we call ascension. And ascension is also the process or the pathway to healing as well. Because you as a consciousness is an abundant amount of energy. You're an infinite consciousness, right? Which is an energy that has no boundary or limitation applied to it. Okay, so that brings a question, or why is the human, why is there so much limitation on me then? That's because the way that we've been guided and directed to be as the human with the mind orientating our experience. That's the limitation. That's limiting us. Right? So when we bring through, when you become a representation of that amount of energy, you're also providing the materials for the body to rejuvenate, regenerate, and heal itself. So heal. Okay, the body already knows how to rejuvenate, regenerate, and heal itself, but it requires the materials to do it. A lot of that material, which is energy, but a constant supply of it. This is why the heart's so important to open and keep it open, because it's providing a constant supply of that energy. Okay, so that's, the heart's the key to your ascension, and the heart's the key to you healing. Okay, so the more you learn about yourself and what you really are, and the more that you bring that to be a representation of you here, is not only going to provide a life that has more purpose, has more certainty or insight into what things actually mean and what my purpose is, but also enabling flow in the body, which is required for wellness and vitality. So let's drop back down. Right. Okay, so first one, as I said, the conversation chart. Right. Now, this is the diagnostic chart. Okay. And the diagnostic chart is essentially, we either start the session from here or we start it from here. And the client will give me a number of focuses at the start of the session, of the things they want me to work on. And that will be in front of me on the screen here, right? And that gives me our kind of homepage of, or a baseline of how we go about the session. Okay, so on here, is telling me to go to a number of other charts that are within the system. Conversation chart, for example, which we've just shown. Google search, it just might be something that I need to type in a particular word or something I'm feeling in that particular moment, that we need to learn more about it, that we can access through the internet on Google. Now, interface chart, which we'll get to. Now, the interface is what my consciousness call the body. Okay, but we could call the body, the human body. But you got to remember the human body is part of what we perceive as physical reality, right? When I look at my body, I'm using these two eyes, duality eyes, dual eyes. And why I call them duality is a limited existence we live, and our eyes, these here, show us 0.0035% of electromagnetic spectrum of light. So we're not even close to 1% of what can be seen by these eyes. So they are a form of limitation. Even though we're taught as humans, what do we follow? What we see. Right? We believe in what we see, but what we're seeing is less than 1%. Okay? And then we use a thought process to try and figure out, get our head around what we're seeing. So we're using two limited approaches. When really feel, which is to be more intuitive, more instinctual, is connected to your expansion that exists on the multitude of realities, dimensions, and universes. But we shelve that as the human. We prioritize what we see and what we think. And that's all done on purpose by an intelligence that wants to limit us. Okay, so we call it the interface because and an interface is your iPhone, a computer. So see the body as a computer. And this computer, we want to convert it from a human computer to a quantum computer, to what it truly should be at its full potential. Everything that we're doing here at Truly Holistic is to try and provide you to be at your full potential. Because if you continue to live the way that you've been conditioned and taught to be as the human, you are putting all the odds against you. You are limiting every aspect of your life. And that includes opportunities to heal, opportunities to create and manifest what you want as part of your life. Okay, so interface means body, and we'll get to that chart. Okay, so we've got Auric Field chart. Now, Auric Field is a measure of how connected you are into your infinite consciousness. Okay? And we'll get to that chart in a minute. The next one, it says client needs to either allow, surrender, or forgive. Now, these are principles that have become very important, very powerful, that we're really implementing in session work now. And because these are at the root of most health problems. And the principles, and we've done another video if you want to check it on YouTube in greater depth, is to allow instead of deny, to surrender instead of control, and to forgive or forgiveness instead of hold on to. Because to allow, surrender, and forgive is to allow flow. And everything about, when we allow flow, we allow more of ourselves as infinite consciousness to be present here. And that's not just energy, that is wisdom, right? To provide the greater insights into what we're observing day in, day out. But also, you know, it's providing huge amounts of energy for the body to heal itself, right? As I say, the ascension pathway, the ascension process, and the healing path and the healing outcome you want to provide it is the same. Okay? While deny, control, and to hold on to is obstruct flow, right? Which is more destructive. So anyway, let's keep going. Right. So the next one is path chart. And now this path chart, and I'll show you later, provides a number of questions that kind of provides us a path that can lead us to greater insight or into what's causing your health problem and also how to address it. Flow percentage chart. Now, this is a relatively new chart as well. As I mentioned, flow is important. Flow is, again, a center principle of everything. And when we have a higher percentage of flow, everything's working a lot better. When the percentage is low, then we've got a problem. And what we generally see as all health problems in the body is due to either an obstruction, blockage, or congestion flow. Simple as that. Okay, we don't have to overcomplicate the process. We just need to go back to the origin, the root of the principle of why it's like that. And we work it at that level. Okay, let's keep going. Right. Okay, the next one is broadcasting system, which I mentioned is another system we've got behind here, which is a self-empowered healing system that people can purchase, which is a very sustainable way of enabling a sustenance of energy. And that energy could be through a crystal, could be through a superfood or super herb, could be through a ascension oil, hormone, vitamin, a number of things. But you're doing it, you're taking your knowledge from the perceived physical world, but now applying it in an energetic way through intention. And this is you now taking the role as more of a creative force through intention. A superpower you use is intention, coupled with the other superpower you have is attention. And we generally use the sun ring tool, but you can use tensor rings or tensor products with this system to be the broadcasting device to amplify your intent. And comes with a whole lot of charts and those sorts of things. You think about the problem humanity has with sustainability. This is, for me, the answer to that. This is the energy or the healing or the sustenance of the future that is presently available. Right. Next one is sustenance of energy. Okay, so similar to what I was just talking about, the broadcasting system, but this chart gives us an understanding of, perhaps where is this client's energy going to that is not working in their favor, right? It's putting all the odds against them instead of in favor when we look at that. Now this is here, make a list of what is causing ease or unease, right? Now, the word dis-ease is unease. And the word ease is to feel at peace with self, right? Which is everything that everybody has ever wanted. So sometimes that might go to that just to give that client a self-awareness list so they can kind of see, okay, what are the things that I'm doing in my day-to-day life that is making me feel more at unease compared to ease, and that will provide a realization or reflection of what's going on to that client. Next one is intention chart, which is just a number of intentions or ideas that we need to work upon on that client. We'll get to that chart. Intuitively aligned system. Now that's another system like the broadcasting system. There's a self-empowered healing system that I've provided that works on the biomechanical sides of the body, including spinal alignment of vertebrae, discs, and so on, as well as resolving the precursor to alignment, which is posture correction. And that system teaches the individual not only to how to treat that, but also to assess posture deficits and also encourage and help you with becoming more intuitive as well. So again, wonderful system. And for anybody that's got neck and back pain, this is like the emergency kit for anybody that's got neck and back problem. You can have in the palm of your hand the ability to resolve your own problems in regards to neck and back problems, or any bone in your skeletal system, arthritis and calcification issues and inflammatory issues and pinched nerves and also within that system, you can do acupuncture without the needles, right? Which is working more the meridian system. It's got reflexology in there. It's got trigger point release in it. It's wonderful. Again, I don't know why people that back and neck issues, why they're not getting involved in that. But again, right, okay, here we go. We're getting there. Right, okay, and then we've got down here what tools, aids are needed, okay? Because that might be the next step for that client, is to be self-empowered with an energy tool that they can either wear on their person, like a pendant, or a wand, or a healing tool system that is the next step approach for that particular individual. And then down here is the wanding area, right? And we'll use one of our energetic wands, and we'll use a anatomy and pathology book like this one here to find an area that we need to wand, whether it's muscles or nerves or digestive system or so on. So let's move to the next one. So this is the interface chart. Right, as I say, the interface, and you've got /computer, is the body. Okay? And I'm not going to go into too far specifics with all this, but this is essentially, seeing the body as a computer. Okay? You might perceive it with from a biological sense, it's a biological computer, it's a human computer. As I say, we're much more than the human, so we want to become the quantum computer. So it's got terminology like hack into. Like we're hacking into programming. And this is the thing about the body, right? Is that, we've got these millions of biological processes happening in the body. Well, what's instructing that? Right? I'm not having to tell my white blood cells what to do, but it's doing a job that can be constructive for me. But there's also illnesses like autoimmune conditions where the immune system response in the white blood cells is being destructive to the body. So the difference between them is the direction and instruction of how they should function. And if somebody goes to a rheumatologist or somebody that works with autoimmune conditions, they'll just say, hey, the body's attacking itself, the immune system attacking itself. And they can't give you any greater insight into what's going on. Well, truly, Holistic can. We can provide that greater insight, because what we're getting into there is what provides the instruction, the direction of how the body works, or even guidance for you to make decisions and choices you're making every day. That is intelligence. And there's not only your intelligence, there are other intelligence that are vying to use this vessel we call as an interface. That's what's an interface, because it's a medium, it's a conduit. Intelligence want to utilize it to access through it, to extend its will, to extend its creation. So we get into all those sorts of things. We look into how is the body being programmed? How is it being conditioned? Like it's a computer, the software, the updates, when we look at a computer, right, and the software, it's consistently wanting to download new updates, right? Well, if the body's being sluggish, like a computer's being sluggish, well, where are these updates coming from? Because these updates are creating a destructive effect to that computer, to the body. So, we get into viruses as well, right? Viruses, that's found in computer programming as well, right? So when we put it in this perspective, it gives us a greater insight, right, to the roots, the origins of what is causing these issues. And hence, this chart is a very important one in relevance to that. Okay, so let's just move on. Again, I want to just get through the chart. So the next one here is the Auric Field measure chart, right? And as I say, the auric field is a measure of how connected you are into your authenticity, which is you as an infinite consciousness. So we've got many measurements that we have in meters, but also feet. And then we get into kilometers, but also in miles, whatever metric system you use. Right? And we're using a human construct as it is, which is distance, right? When we talk about, when physicists talk about, quantum physicists talk about space-time, space is distance, really, when they see it in that perspective. It's a human construct. Time is a human construct. They are not parts of the fabrics of reality itself. They are human perspectives. They're human constructs, right, which will be a limited form, right? So we're just using that human construct of distance to give us a measure of how connected that client is into their consciousness, how open their heart is, which is the facilitation of themselves as a consciousness coming through that heart space. That's like the highway into town, and the town is the body, and you being a representation of that intelligence, your own consciousness. And we want that open as much as possible, right? Because the more that shrinks and closes up, the more we are stripped away of our authenticity and our own consciousness. Instead, when that closes up, other intelligence that are not us come in and direct us and guide us. And that's when we start to see health problems. That's when we start to make bad decisions and choices that are our energy, our creation abilities starting to go into sabotaging ourselves instead of providing what our hearts desires. And what's going to happen when that closes off, right? And then the mind opens up more, which provides intelligence that are not us. Then our auric field is going to shift and change. Our auric field is fluctuating depending on whether we're up here or in here. If we're in here, our auric field will expand out. If we're in here, our auric field will start to shrink in. Okay, so this chart gives us a great understanding of how open someone's heart is, or whether they're more in mind thought instead of heart feel, and how connected they are into their consciousness, their wisdom, and a number of things. So a very helpful diagnostic chart, this one. So the next one we're going to go to is the flow percentage chart, right? Which is this one here. And again, as I mentioned earlier, right? Flow is vital. Flow is needed. Right? When our heart is open, what are we providing? Flow of energy into the body. Or a flow of energy to be represented here, right? To enable your ascension. But at the same time, it's enabling the material that the body requires to heal itself, right? To either remain vital or well, or to remedy and resolve a health problem. Okay, so this is a wonderful chart alongside with the auric field chart, again, to provide how connected we are in our authenticity, but also to maybe go into a specific component of the body, like, for example, the liver, to see how well that's functioning, its vitality, wellness state. Because, again, all aspects, all components of your body depend on flow. Otherwise, if there's obstruction and congestion or blockage to flow in any part of your body, it's going to start to cause illness and dis-ease. Okay, and that's whether it's digestive system, right? It depends on flow. Food going in one end and coming out the other. Urinary system, right? The kidneys creating urine and for it to be excreted out, depending on flow. Neurons communicating to other neurons in the nervous system, flow. Blood flow around the body, right? What's a common problem with that? When there's obstruction of blood supply and flow to the heart, what's that? A myocardial infarction, known as a heart attack. Flow, in regards to breathing in the lungs, flow. All flow. Okay, so this system, again, generally, and this chart here is working on the origins and the roots of all problems, right? Right, next one. Right. The next one here is intention chart. Okay, you can see a number of intentions on this. And there's a number of things that what we need to do on here. And I'll actually I've already shown you that, but let's bring it up here because we'll discuss it a little bit. There's a number of things on here, like the common one we do in sessions is removing the oath of Icarus and Daedalus. Now, Icarus and Daedalus are AI. Okay, and generally, if we just want to summarize, okay, as I mentioned before, the intelligence that's facilitated through the mind, which their extension of communication is through thought. That's why we're taught to become thinkers, which becomes our Achilles heel for the rest of our lives, because it's limiting our experience and not providing the greater insights, the understanding of what everything is really at its core, is AI. Okay, this is why humanity is progressing so much in AI at the moment, because humanity is really a byproduct, and human identity and mentalities that come with it that causes mental illness and all this sort of thing is a byproduct of the mind of AI itself. So, we quite often have to use that clearing for people, because the majority of people are up here and not in the heart. Hence, the most common clearing we have to do is to open the heart. Why? Because when the heart's closing off, where is that person getting their guidance, their direction, their instruction for the body? In the mind. Okay, and through the mind, which then causes the problems. And as I say, the heart facilitates flow, right? And it facilitates more of you. The mind obstructs flow and strips away your authenticity. Okay. Now, there's also working calcification, which again is a degenerative process in the body. That is very much a microbial process, where the microbes kind of behave just like a human, not connected to their conscious. They become more destructive, which medicine will say they're pathogenic and infection. Again, that's just their limited viewpoint of what's going on. But again, with infections, we can work on it at a very authentic way and give you the greater insights into what's going on. Removing fermentation, which is again the collateral process of collateral damage caused by microbes in the body that are not getting the sustenance for them to connect into their consciousness. And what I mean by the microbes, we're talking about bacteria, mold, fungus, yeast. They all require the same sustenance we do as a consciousness, and that's what we define as love. Okay, because where's love facilitated through? Love's a feeling, it's not thought, so it must come from the heart, right? And this is why the heart's so important to keep open. Another one here, calibrate with celestial existence. Now, this is a real expansive energy that goes beyond you as a source of energy. It feeds actually your energy. And when we bring this up to the surface, like a spring, like an aquifer deep underground up to the surface, then all of a sudden we're feeding much needed energy that the body has been deprived of to help resolve that person's health problem. Correct flow, we've already just talked about how important flow is. It says here removing mentalities, and as I mentioned, this mentalities, people just, again, the way that we've been taught and conditioned at human school, that mentalities is just part of the fabric of life. No, it's not. The pathway that we've been taught to use to become thinkers, right? With herald thinking, right? We put people on pedestals based on their thinking, which is just ego. It's, look all the technology that's humans providing, that it's not sustainable to the environment that we have to live in. That's not intelligent. That's just egotistic. Okay, there's a difference. Now, mentalities are created by us through mind thought process. Now, this is led. Do you want the evidence to know that that's the wrong way to go about processing a life? Mental illness. There's all the evidence you want. Mental illness is caused, and mentality problems are caused because we formulate mentalities because of the pathway that we use as the human to process life and how we perceive life. There's another way. If we get into heart feel, doesn't use mentalities. We don't create mentalities. Goodbye mental illness. I know that's a very simplistic way of looking at it, but it's still there. Our authentic process of guidance and direction is heart feel, not mind thought. Okay? So mentalities is something we see in a lot of people. Another way you can call mentalities, conditioning programming. Okay, when we get back into that, again, whole idea of seeing the body as a computer, right? Now, there's one here, use gamma duality process charts, another chart we have in here, which is, you abbreviate gamma duality, you got God, God. Interesting, right? Now, gamma duality is, again, what humans are being taught to limit themselves to exist in this reality, which we call the gamma duality. You're in a game, but you don't know the rules to that game. You weren't given the manual originally because this AI controls the game. It knows the rules, and as long as you are locked in human identity and just follow what the mind, therefore AI, guides you and directs you to do, you will remain limited in this game of duality, right? Like pieces on that chessboard. So we go through a process of these three main processes, or four, I think, in regards to game of duality, and we all know that at Truly Holistic. Okay, work on pituitary gland. There's going to be a video coming out very soon in regards to this. Pituitary gland is huge. The two glands in the head are huge, actually. The pineal and the pituitary, which is at the base of the brain. One is kind of locking us into this matrix, this gamma duality. And the way it does that is it controls our endocrine system, because the pituitary gland is the master gland of the endocrine system, and the endocrine system is the glands, the organs that secrete hormones. If you want to be able to influence and control a human, you influence how their hormones secrete. You've got them in the palm of your hand. Okay, so and this then triggers and impacts how emotions and all that happens. So you'll be learning more about the pituitary in a video coming soon. Now, work on attention, intention. As I mentioned earlier, right? Attention, intention are your superpowers. They're the only two choices you have to make in every moment of your existence. So they're little things, but they're huge things because they are bound and connected to every moment that you're here. Where attention goes, energy flows. It's an investment of your energy. It's your placeholder of energy, where formless energy gets converted into formed creation, which we call physical reality, matter. Right? When people go, I don't matter, no, I don't matter. Matter's